This
If I
conference will
can.
now be recorded.
There we go. Can anybody hear him okay? John?
Hi, just testing. Morning, everyone. How are you?
Good morning. All right, thanks, John. So my name is Jay Thompson. This is Lisa Wheelock with Surefire Sales. We are the sales and marketing channel for Surefire, and we've been asked to come in and do some product training and some indoctrination into Surefire, and maybe answer some questions and show you some of the equipment and how it works. Have you guys seen Surefire before?
A whole bunch of it.
Okay, good. This is John Caldwell. He's remote out in, are you in Logan, Utah?
Yeah.
Yep, he's in Logan, Utah, and we're going to be doing this to a lot of the branches, so we just want to figure out a way to do remote training, and this is, you're our first shot at it, so. Okay, so John, it's all yours as far as the product training goes.
Great. Thank you, Jay. Could you help me facilitate really quickly? Just do a quick introduction to who we've got there with us.
Colin, right? Mason, Dylan.
Paul. Right now,
Yeah. Can you hear me?
We got Mason, Dylan, and Paul.
Can you hear that or not?
Yes, I could hear it. Thank you. And we're in the Dallas branch. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. And Mason, Dylan, and Paul, are you all SAS salespeople, employees?
Yes, sir.
Okay, wonderful. Well, we appreciate you being here. Let's just get started by it. Let me ask you a couple things. What do you know about Surefire? I know it's been in your branches for a little while. Tell me what you know.
We know we can transmit Wiegand on the Wiegand model, wireless. You know, not even line of sight, doesn't need to be line of sight. You can do relay with either the Wiegand model or the relay only model. They work. They work really well.
They work is a nice one, right?
Yeah, they work. So.
Okay, perfect. Well, gentlemen, thank you for taking a few minutes this morning. What we'd like to do is to go through some basic things that about Surefire. Some of it will be things that you probably already know. There may be some things you don't. We hope there's some things you don't that we can teach you, as well as a lot of applications. Now, because you're in your SAS salespeople, I will gear a lot of my comments then toward what is the value for both SAS and the integrators. So as you talk to people, you can help them understand why Surefire is important to them, not just as a product and a solution, but also as a business model. And so we'll be going over that. And if there are any questions before we get started, let's do that. Otherwise, we'll get rolling.
Let's roll.
All right. So first thing, ladies and gentlemen, we'll go over, this is what we're going to talk about. What does Surefire do? What is the value proposition for partners and integrators like we chatted about? How is Surefire unique in the marketplace? And you would probably have a good feel for that as well. And then also some use cases. And this changes every week. I see stuff every week that is out there. And these great integrators, they come up to me and they ask questions like, hey, will this work this way or this work this way? And I start thinking about it. We talk about it a little bit, and it does. And Surefire has been a great product that way. So every week we have new use cases and new ways to do it, and I'll tell you a little bit about that as we go. All right. So as you alluded to, Surefire works, and that's the most important thing. You guys know integrators will come in and they're a little bit hesitant. They're reticent to use any new, especially wireless product. And what's the reason for that, you guys?
They don't want like intermittent job sites where they're going back, twice a month, 3 times a month, just to check something that's intermittent.
Yeah. Historically, what has wireless been? It's been completely unreliable, right? Intermittent usage, having to go back for callbacks 3 or 4 times a month, that does not make anybody any money, right? And historically, people have thought the idea of wireless has been great, but when it came to actually application, they'll claim 1,500 feet or whatever, and it turns out to be 150 feet, or as soon as you hit a wall, you're done, right? Has that been your experience?
Nope, not with Surefire.
And not with Surefire. It has with some other things, but with Surefire, that's where it's very different. We cannot reliably connect through that heavy obstruction. mile through heavy obstruction and up to 50 miles line of sight. I personally have gone through like 12 feet of concrete. We've gone way past 50 miles in a line of sight scenario. So if you guys have had a lot of exposure to Surefire, you'll understand that this is a very unique system. It's also military grade encrypted, 128 ASE encryption. And then it also has 72 channel hopping and over the air rekeying. So places that where security is really important, this is a solution. We've got them in police stations, fire stations, airports, places that that security for them is paramount. And so this is a solution for people who not only need it to work every time, but also need it to be secure. We actually had we'll hire some of the engineers and people out of Microsoft to try to break this code, and they couldn't do it. And so it's very secure. And the other thing that we do is we send to multipath. So you guys are probably seeing the pinger units, right? You guys have one in the branch?
They're open, it's open, right?
These test kits?
You all have them here?
I don't think
No,
so.
we don't have them, but we've seen them.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, we'll go through how to get those as well.
We want to make sure to get you guys one in the branch. But in the branch, if you haven't used them before, basically what that does is that allows you to take it out and test at a job site, whether this is going to be a great solution for you or not. But it has 6 LEDs on the front. And what that LED is measuring is not the strength of signal, even though it could be kind of construed as that, but it's really how many paths come back. This is a multi-path thing. So we send out a whole bunch of signals with all the same information, kind of like a shotgun approach, and all it needs is one BB to come back for it to work. So what's happening is if you get 6 LEDs, that means you're getting at least 6 paths coming back. If you have 4, you're getting 4 paths, but each one has all the information you need to run it. So it's not like a cell phone where if you get 1 bar, half of the time it doesn't work. This is really a much different type of carrier radio system. All right, and I don't know if you guys were aware of that, but these pinger units are used to help people to get out there and your integrators can call up, or can get online, and they can actually sign up and get one of these sent out to them so they can use them on their jobs.
John, I showed them how they can use the existing Wiegand set to do it as well.
Okay, thank you, Jay. Any questions on that? How every unit is also can be used as a test unit? Okay. The only reason that the pingers, what we call them, or the development, or the testing kit is really handy is because they can just throw it in the truck, take it out to all of their jobs. So, all right. Now here's a list of our products we have out right now. We've got a lot coming out too as well. I'm assuming you're probably fairly familiar with the Wiegand product that's there on your left. It's green. Obviously that's access control systems and relays. Wiegand inputs and outputs. We also have an HVAC or 24-volt system that can be used for 24-volt AC relays, 1 to multiple. We have the relay, do you guys have the relay in stock there in your branch in Dallas? The blue one?
Yes, sir.
Yep.
So basically that relay is the same as the Wiegand minus the Wiegand input, so it's just you're doing relays. And I was talking to a group last week that were wanting to try the relay bridge out in oil and gas industry. And obviously there's a lot of that out there. And the last one's the analog bridge, which we use for milliamp variable voltage industrial control. So that gives you an idea of what we have right now. We are also moving towards some other things. We'll talk about the future ones a little bit further down in the presentation. Now, have you gentlemen seen the app, the way they interface with this bridge?
In the Surefire app?
No.
Okay. We will probably give you some time at the end to take a look at that. But basically, one of the things the installers really like about this app is that you can pull it up on your phone, you can trigger the relays, check your wiring, see what's coming in, test everything that is related to the Surefire unit, and so they can, with confidence, get it installed, and it's really very nice. So one other thing that's really interesting is if they get connected to the app and they want to call up tech support at Surefire, they can actually look right into that unit and look at things and say, hey, you've got a problem here, or you need to connect to this there, or you got over voltage, and they can help them troubleshoot live, connecting it through their phone into the app. So it's a pretty great thing that a lot of the integrators, installers have really loved. All right, so we're gonna spend some time on the Wiegand because that's what you guys use the most, I'm assuming. And we're gonna talk a little bit about some of the features. You probably will know a little bit about this, and maybe you'll learn something new. Works with any relay as well as Wiegand protocols. It automatically detects the bit rate. You have one Wiegand input and 2 relay outputs going both directions. So for a total of 4 relays. Excuse me, I don't know why we relay so quickly. All right, we're gonna go back to here.
Kind of froze for a bit and then.
What's that?
You froze for a bit and then we lost a bunch of slides.
Okay. Well, that's interesting. It's jumping. Okay. We are gonna stick that right back there. We're gonna fix that. All right, here we go.
Can you get back into full screen?
Yep, I'm going there right now. How's that?
Perfect.
Well,
Okay.
No.
Not quite.
Nope, hold on.
There's some latency here.
Okay.
All right, we're at use cases. Go ahead.
Are we back? All right, perfect. So guys, this is something that you probably need to know quite a bit about, and that is where is this thing used and how is this used to save people money and save them time? The first thing is obviously the cost of running wire. And it's not just 40 cents a foot or whatever control wire happens to be that week, but it's also how much cost it is in guys standing there throwing it through a drop ceiling or digging a trench or whatever else. If you have to bend conduit, if you have to rent a trencher, if you have to get a scissor lift or have 2 guys stand in a hall and throw wire through a drop ceiling, it's just not worth the time. We use this on a retrofit of old buildings all the time that they don't want to drill through. We also get calls all the time for replacement or damaged wire. And we think of that usually in a retrofit situation, but I was just out on one Saturday where we had a brand new building. It wasn't even finished yet, but it up on the side of a hill and the ground shifted and it cut and broke through all their major conduit and cut their wires. And so they were pretty excited about that, as you can imagine, but at least for the control wire, the Surefire was able to jump in and fix the problem. So it's often a retrofit situation, but sometimes can be new construction as well. So whenever they have to trench, drill, bore a hole, throw it through the roof, the ceiling tile, Surefire is a much better solution and is more cost effective for them. We also have them being used in forklifts for access control and accountability. What happens with that is it's connected onto the forklift. You have the Surefire unit in there. They use their badge to turn it on and off, and then they cruise around, do their job. If they hit something, we use one of the relays on the Surefire unit connected to an impact sensor to send a signal and say, hey, something happened at 3 o'clock on Bob's forklift. And they can check that out and see what kind of damage. And so there's not only accessibility for those who are, only the people who are certified to use those forklifts, but also accountability on how they drive. All right, we're using them a lot in elevators to increase security. Now, this is something that people might ask you about. There's kind of a scenario with elevators right now where people are getting into very secure areas by using a technique called parking. And I'll basically explain it this way. If I'm a person who's not supposed to be in that building for whatever reason, and I want to get in, usually they have a card swipe on the inside of the elevator that says, okay, you have to swipe your card to get to the 5th floor or the 8th floor or whatever. And especially large, tall buildings that have multiple companies in them, you have to use your access control to get to the floor where your building where your company is and where they should have access. Does that make sense?
Right. Yes.
So what happens is if I'm the person who's not supposed to be in there, I push the button, I call the elevator down, and I get in the elevator. Now I can't push any buttons to go up, but what I do is I just stand there or I sit there and I wait. And as soon as somebody from an upper floor calls the elevator to come up, I go up with it, and then now I'm out on the 4th floor, the 23rd floor, whatever floor they called it from, and I didn't have to have access at all. And I'm out there walking around now. What people are doing is this scenario called elevator parking is a little bit disconcerting. You get people into highly sensitive areas. And so what people are doing is over here on the left, can you see my cursor right there? I don't know if the latency is helping or not.
Yeah, we can see it.
Yes.
All right, so right there above the elevator button, this installer's name's Errol. He took this a card reader and connected it to the button. So in order to even call, you have to be able to swipe your card at the card reader down on the lobby level. So you swipe it, push the button, and it allows you to get in. So that one's coming up quite a bit. Mustering and gathering points also outside of factories and large warehouses and schools and things, where you have to, in an emergency, go out in the parking lot of the field and you can swipe your card. So the person in charge, whether that's the owner of the factory, the manager, whatever, can say, okay, 145 people came in this morning and used their badge to get in, and we're missing 2 people and they both work in the lab or whatever. And so they can know exactly where everyone is and account for their people using those assembly, mustering, evacuation points. We also use them for municipalities where you have, let's say, 5 or 6 buildings in the city that are city buildings. They have access control in them, but they have all these small places like pump houses and cemeteries, gun ranges, water stations, traffic light access points that they would love to be able to put everybody on the same access control card, but it's too expensive. Whereas if you put a SureFi in the middle at each of those buildings, you now have a radiating access point that you can put anything in that big circle onto access and use the existing access control system. That might be a little bit confusing, but we can answer questions on that as we go. But a great use of the SureFi unit. So,
John, why did you bring up gun ranges?
This particular city that you're looking at actually had a gun range just right on the edge of the town, and basically they wanted access control to it. So on Tuesdays, for example, only law enforcement can go, or they have some buildings there that they want to be able to let the city employees get into, and not have to have 35 keys on their belt, or you have to go find a key for one of the 150 locks, in the area. So gun ranges can be used as access control for the gun range, but that gun range was within about half a mile of their cemetery where they already had access control, and so they could just piggyback on that existing access control.
Okay, thanks.
You bet. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir.
Yep.
Right. Now, I'd like to take a few minutes, and Jay and Lisa, if you wouldn't mind, let's let them come up and play with the demo a little bit, show them how that works, take a couple minutes so that they can see how that's wired in and some of the ways that that's connected. I realize as sales guys, probably not quite as important as if this were integrators, but I'd love to have you go up and at least take a look at it, play with it a little bit, push the buttons, and see how we've got that demo cube put together there for you.
Did y'all use one before at all, these demo units?
I believe once before.
Okay. We've got several. We've got one for Wiegand, we have one for just relay, we have one for analog, we have one for HVAC, right? We just brought this one, we thought it'd be most applicable. All right, so this is a functioning unit. We've got power being applied to the, this is the remote end, that's the control end.
Okay.
So that black box on the right is simulated a controller. Okay. So we've got it all, it's all wireless. The only thing wired between it is power. And so we're just demonstrating it. So normal, somebody comes in, right now the door's locked. They want access, they push it, now they got access. And now it's off. Single swipe comes back. So that just remotely, and if you'll notice, got one more time here. When I hit this, it TXs, receives over there and does the release. Okay. Second thing might be just a door switch condition. 2400. You can see it on the other side. No. 412 is.
And you can see all this live on the app too.
Yep. And we'll show you that. We'll pull up. I can actually at some point we'll pull up the application and show you. You can actually see the Wiegand data. You can see the conditions. You can see the wiring points. All of it right on your phone. If you got a problem, you can call tech and they can actually get into it remotely.
Hey, Jay, can I intervene for 1 second here?
Always.
And that is that one thing that's nice is he was mentioning that, the condition of the relays, you can also see a history. So if someone says, hey, this isn't working, and you can look back, 24 hours or whatever and see what's been going on. So that's nice if you have somebody who's got a service call.
On the app, you have them all.
So you can see if it's a problem with like the bridge or a problem with the strike, or just seeing, bridge is firing, but the strike's not firing. you know, it's something
And then this is just keypad. Where I got more of those. We just have every button live, so we don't have to remember the code. Geo. All right.
So what's this one again?
So that's just an indication whether a door is open or closed.
Oh, okay.
So if you notice, it's actually set on the condition, change of condition.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Door position sensor.
Yep. And so what we did was just kind of put in a simulation of some of the access control events that you might see in an integration, just so you can show that it's all happening wireless, and we can take these units and spread them a mile apart, apply power and get the same demo. It's really just an illustration of how it works.
You guys always recommend to mount these vertically, right? Because the way the multi-point works, you always want it to be mounted vertically.
Do we have any polarization in the antenna? John, do we have any polarization on the antenna? Does it matter whether it's horizontal or vertical?
Yeah, it is most effective if it is mounted vertically for the propagation. You know, that horizontal propagation is stronger. It does still work, but if you want maximum range, it's always best to mount it vertically.
And it'd be really easy to test. You can just, because this is identical. The antenna is embedded in here, just like here. This is actually the entire antenna circuit right here. So you can take it, literally check it both directions. You can leave one like that, or you can take the remote in and change it.
And just see
Yep.
if you have any change.
Yep, see if it makes any difference. That's the best part about these, and they can give you a real world indication of what's going to happen at that location. So, okay, go ahead, John.
All right. So, gentlemen, any questions on the cube and how things are wired? And this obviously is only a small portion of what it can do, but we have to keep it limited to some degree to be able to transport it around. Any questions about the cube?
No, sir. No, sir.
We're good.
Perfect. And Jay will be there, and Lisa, you can play with it afterward, and we'll let you have some time on the app as well. So let's go ahead and keep rolling here, and then obviously if we have questions, we can discuss that in a little bit. If you do have questions as we're going, you're welcome to interrupt me though, please do. And if you have questions on applications, especially because you're gonna have guys come in and they're gonna say, hey, I got this situation, how do I fix it? And so I want you to be really conversant in how this is a solution. When we get to the reason why those integrators want to use this, I want to talk to you not just about the solution that this is, but also about the business model and how they can really promote their business a lot with it, because I've seen this happen in other places in the country. So the next one is the relay, which is very much the same as the Wiegand, just minus the Wiegand inputs. 2 relays each direction, used a lot with Rexit buttons, integrating with other systems like the MyQ system. We've had a lot of people take the generic MyQ garage door system and apply it to a long distance gate or whatever. Sometimes it can be used with RFID readers depending on where they're verifying their credentials and that kind of thing. They've been used also in places like boilers, chillers, different things. So next one is our HVAC 24-volt relay system. This is kind of a unique one because it's expandable. You can go out to 8 channels out, but you can also do up to 8 units. So you have 64 channels of relay going out, and that you can send if you have just one way. We had this set up at the Cummins factory. The motors that are in the Dodge trucks and a lot of industrial applications. They had just a bunch of gates that the people would call into the secretary, and she just had one-way gates that she wanted to open, and she had a whole bunch of them. So she was able to use this, and it was sending it out because it was just going one way, and she was able to do expanding up to, I think there was 9 or 10 or so of these gates that she used with a couple of different HVAC / 24-volt relays. So it can be used in heat
John,
pump. Yeah.
Quick question. They get an acknowledgement back on that or not?
There are 2 returns on each one, and so you can get an acknowledgement back like on a door position sensor. So you have 8
Or
out.
whether or not an HVAC unit accepts a command or a condition changes, you get that back as well?
Up to 2, yes.
Okay.
And I
Okay.
know we say it's 24-volt relay, but technically it will run on DC as well. It's just that the actual relays are rated differently, and so you want to just be careful and read the ratings, because the relays are rated higher on an HVAC unit, and so sometimes if you're using something that's sensitive on an access, you can burn them up. So you just got to be careful and make sure that everything's rated the way that you want to on that. So we don't recommend using it for access control, but it can be used for 24-volt relays as well as some other DC things out there. So also used for irrigation. 24 volts is what they use in sprinkling systems, so for golf courses, that kind of thing, as well as alarms and sensors. Okay, let me show, this is a little bit of an example of a couple of different ways you can use this 24-volt relay. This is a heat pump example where you've got 2 of the channels going to one side and 5 of the channels going to another. You can do it this way where you're splitting the channels, or you can mirror them. So you could have all 8 of the units doing the exact same thing. This is helpful when you have like 8 rooftop units, or you have 8 points out there that you want to be doing the exact same thing. You can do that multiple ways. You could even do 8 units and you're sending channel 1 to the first unit, channel 2 to the second unit, channel 3 to the third unit, and so on and so forth. So splitting the channels, but up to 8 units. Does that make sense? Any questions on that?
Good so far.
We're good.
Perfect. All right, our last one in our current production is our analog bridge, and this has just recently come out, and you'll see here this is an installation that was at Long Building Technologies in Denver that I went to, and this is a bridge along with the HVAC bridge that in combination can be used for HVAC systems and building automation systems. This is connected to sensors, as well as any kind of a louver that you need to open to a certain percentage. So it's variable voltage, variable milliamp, and thermistor, input and output. So you can receive sensors and you can send information to open things a certain percentage, depending on the voltage, milliamp, or thermistor to voltage settings. And this is really helpful, like I said, in an HVAC scenario and building automation, but also in so many other things. If they want something to only open a certain amount and stop when it gets to a certain degree, this can be used for that. So it's a very, very versatile sensor, very versatile I/O bridge, and a lot of people have been using these in a lot of different scenarios outside of just a building automation system. So just wanted to give you a quick overview of those 4 main products, and then we'll go into some of these other things. But any questions about the products so far, gentlemen?
No.
Yeah.
We're golden.
I thought I heard someone say yeah. So, all right. So let's
You
look
did.
really quickly. Oh, yeah. What's that?
We're good.
Okay. Let's look very quickly at the value proposition for our partners. This is for you guys. This is why does SAS want to carry this? Now, obviously, you're already carrying the Wiegand, but this is a very unique and very valuable product. You know, people who come in, sometimes they have a major problem. They can't figure out how to do it. This brings them to SAS. This helps you sell more things. This is like the milk, right? You go into Walmart for milk and you buy everything else while you're there because you don't want to make another stop. You know, when SAS is competing with other branches in the area and you have SureFi and people need to come and get SureFi from you, it also helps them get other things from you that maybe even have higher margins, such as gate operators, controllers, whatever. So the next thing is it makes it so that they are more efficient, so they're going to buy more stuff. So what I mean by that is, if you have an integrator that normally trenches and bends conduit, and they can do it now without doing any of that. So normally that takes them 4 or 5 days to do a job, some kind of a big job in a parking garage, and they can do it now in half a day. Does that mean that obviously they're scheduling more work, they're coming back to SAS, and your sales increase as well, and that your percentages and things go up. So SureFi really helps our partners to sell more stuff. Also, while they're in, you have the opportunity to talk to them. This is where you guys come in. You educate them about Surefire or any other new product that's in there, and you upsell. Say, hey, you know, you could try this kind of a loop, or you could try this kind of a thing, and that helps you guys increase SAS's profitability. So, and helps you in the long run. So, the value proposition for partners. Now, value proposition for our integrators. This is something that they really get a hold of. They get their teeth into this when we talk about it. Because first of all, there's two major issues when you're dealing with a job. It's the time it takes to do it and the expense. So you have a couple of different things. When you go out and these integrators are doing a bid, they're going to say, okay, you've got you know, $10,000 in equipment, and you got $20,000 in trenching or conduit or whatever, and the people just say, no, we're not putting that extra money into it. So the HOA just uses, you know, dumb keys like they always have, and then somebody loses it and they have to pay thousands of dollars to replace all the locks. So when they give a bid, not only can they outbid their competition because it's less expensive using the Surefire unit, and they can give you with the Surefire unit an increased level of security, but it also makes it so that they can say, hey, we can do this a lot sooner. Because whenever, even if someone says the price is good, they say the next question is always, when can you do it? And so if they say, okay, it's going to be a $20,000 job, when can you do it? And they say, oh, it's going to be 6 or 7 weeks down the road, that they're going to look for someone else. All right. But if they say, yes, we'll take the job, or I like the price, when can you do it? And their answer is, we can start Monday. Then all of a sudden they're like, yeah, let's do it. Got it. And they're moving forward. So the competitive advantage of time and expense, being able to not only do it faster, but to get to those jobs who you would lose if you didn't have the time advantage that Surefire gives you. Also, you guys know this. You have some integrators out there and some of their employees that are so well educated, and they know these systems inside and out, don't they? Some of these guys are just really good. They've been doing this for 20 years. They know every system that's ever been out there, and they can do this thing with their eyes closed. The problem is you have somebody who's that well educated and that well trained and that valuable to this integrator, and what do? We send him out to dig a hole. And instead of making money, he's digging holes in the ground because we're trenching. Or he's bending pipe, or, you know, or conduit, or drilling through a cement wall, or whatever the reason. And so the integrators, instead of sitting around with their star employees making money, they're watching their star employees dig holes and lose money. So when you talk to integrators, tell them, you know, you've got really, you know, you can tell them, you've got a lot of great guys. These guys could be out making you a ton of money instead of doing remedial work and doing Surefire with it. And that's kind of where the business proposition comes in. We talked about completing the job efficiently and winning more bids, but and we also talked about how important it was, you guys mentioned this, to not have callbacks. But think of it this way. If you have these guys doing 2 or 3 times as many of the jobs, not only are you guys making a lot of money, but the integrators are making a lot of money. And they can also go back and visit these people that the trenching or the wiring or whatever has priced them out of the bid. So I have a guy in Vegas who went back, he decided, you know what, I am not going to install wire anymore. It's just a waste of my time. So unless it's going 3 feet from one place to another, he just says, do Surefire on everything. And whether he's going through a wall or he's just going to a parking area 40 feet away, it's just not worth it to him to get out the vendor and the conduit. He just says, do Surefire on everything. And he's been able to go back to his dead file, this file where all these people have said, well, we love the idea, but we can't afford, you know, $30,000 in trenching at the HOA, so we'll just have to wait. He goes back to this dead file, and he's been able to recapture 60% of those people that have told him no. So he goes back and says, yeah, you know, this job used to be $70,000, but we have a new technology. With that new technology, we can now do it for 32, and those people are saying, yep, let's do it. So that's a huge value proposition for those integrators. They can go back to people who've told them no, give them a different bid because now there's a technology that can get a yes. This page for me, it seems probably the most important one for you in your positions. So what questions do you have about how this value proposition for your customers as they roll in the door? Either I did a great job explaining it, or you guys are way too tired this morning. So hopefully, since you've already had some background, this all made sense to you, how this can help them, win more bids and outbid their competition. So.
Definitely. Yeah, totally makes sense. Yeah.
Okay. Cool. All right. So this is an evaluation kit. You saw this. Lisa and Jay demonstrated this for you. We need to get one there at the branch, and so that you can have one to lend, and then encourage the integrators, encourage your customers to get online at surefy.com and sign up. If they just put their name in, a little information, we'll send them a free evaluation kit so they can have it in their truck. And it's not just for their confidence. I was on a job 2 weeks ago where we went out in this huge warehouse. The guy, he said, well, I already know Surefy works, but I want you to come out with me with an evaluation kit and show our general contractor. General didn't believe that Surefy would be able to get through all the instruction. So we took him out door by door, and he was then convinced. So it's also the end user. It's not just the customer that rolls into SAS. Does that make sense?
Yes,
All right.
sir.
We've got a few things coming up that we've had in development. I'm just going to go over these quickly for you, just so you can be thinking of some of the things that as somebody comes in and they say, hey, I've got this problem. Some of these things, especially the serial data, the one here on the bottom, that's in beta testing. So we are ready to get that into beta. If you've got people who need it, we can do it. So get something out to them. But here's the 3 products. Is we've got the Relay Pro, and this is going to be an 8 relay unit with 2 8-amp relays and 6 1-amp relays. So very similar to the Relay Bridge, which only had 2 going each way. This has 8 going each way. So this is one, if they have a lot of relay needs, and especially if you have some big relays needed, you've got 2, these first 2 right here are the 8-amp, and then you have 6 1-amp. So 6 or 8 going each direction is a huge relay advantage. And so that's one thing we've got going. The Access Pro is similar to the Wiegand, but it will also do things like OSDP and some other things with serial data. The serial data bridge right here is one that we've been working on developing in partnership with Facebook for their campuses. And this one's very interesting because not only can you send serial data, which is really helpful in certain types of applications, but we also have been working with it, and with the compression that we have, and our engineers have been able to figure out, we can do voice. And that's something that you guys have been asking us for a while. For all these call boxes and push to call buttons, we'll be able to do voice with our serial data bridge now. So if you need that in application, these guys no longer have to pay for a monthly cell phone subscription, because they hate that, don't they? They buying a system and having to pay another $50 a month or whatever. It just chaps them to be able to have to do that. So this will allow them to do a voice as well as a control unit with our serial data. What kind of scenarios are you thinking about that maybe one of these products would help you with in the future?
Pretty much any telephone entry.
Yeah, telephone entry is huge.
Right.
Right now, you're dragging 4-wire out there or dial-up, right? Yeah.
Yeah, or they're paying the $50 a month, right? Or whatever. What's that?
Cradle point.
They'll use a SIM card and go cellular, so they're paying the $50 to a cellular company.
Yeah. So there's a lot of things that we can do, and this is a one-time cost. It's not going to be a lot more than the current Wiegand bridge. And so you think about the fact that they could do a telephone entry system and have the controls and all of that off of that serial data. That becomes really attractive, right?
Mm-hmm.
All right. So we are moving on. All right. So really quickly, for you guys, as those integrators come rolling through the door, what kind of things stood out to you that is the value of Surefy for them? They're going to come in and they're going to say, hey, you know, I need this product and this product. And what about that Surefire thing? What do you think about that? What are some of the value proposition for that integrator?
Most of the time, these guys just hate digging, so the second you say that they don't have to trench anything, they start getting excited, especially if it's for, you know, like a long run down a driveway. In Texas, we get long driveways, so less trenching for them.
140-degree heat.
Yeah,
Especially June through September.
yeah. Like right now, still, yeah.
Yeah, that's huge. So I used to live in Mineral Wells, not far outside of Dallas, and they have these real long driveways, and guys are hating trench. And now you can have a telephone entry with that serial data. So I guess what I'm saying is, if you guys know if somebody wants to put a telephone entry in, and you say, hey, you know what, we've got a Surefire unit that can do this now, let me know, and we'll get them a serial data bridge so that they can put that out there and use that. Okay.
So are those ready, or is that still like a beta test?
It's in beta.
It's
In beta,
right?
but we've had them at our own buildings, so they're ready. We can get them something. So just if you'll contact me, you can do it through Jay, Lisa, or whoever. Contact me, and we'll get them out there because we'd love to get some more installations with them. We're very confident with how they work. You know, we have put them in a lot of places and in a lot of our own buildings. So we're confident with the product. It's just a matter of getting the right setup for you. It'll take us a few weeks to get it to you because we have to kind of individually connect how you want it, you know, whether that's a telephone entry or, you know, serial data or whatever. But yeah, we can get one to them for, you know, for somebody who wants to do something.
That's awesome.
Okay. Let me ask you about this particular one. What are some of the advantages they get over their competition that aren't using Surefire?
Definitely time, like billable hours. You know, they can go from one job to the next and keep stuff going. Because really, I mean, running wire and doing some of the hardware stuff can be most time consuming.
Yeah, thank you. You know, that's the huge, not only on the specific job, but you mentioned getting from job to job quickly. They're going to pick up a lot more jobs if they can get them done faster, right? So, all right, thanks, you guys. Surefire is a very unique product. You guys have used them, or have had guys out there using them, and they're the ones that just work. And people are amazed by it. I was amazed by it when I came to the company. I didn't believe it because I've always been kind of a radio tech guy, and I thought there's no way this works. But it works out of a steel box. It works through walls. It works across, you know, a mile-long HOA. It just works. So, what questions do you have, gentlemen, that we haven't covered?
So you said you tried to use an online of sight, like I'm sure like out in the, you know, like Mojave Desert or Salt Flats or something like that.
Mountaintop to mountaintop.
Really?
Yeah.
How far have you guys gone?
With line of sight, you said?
With line of sight, yeah.
So 116 miles across the desert from Winnemucca, Nevada to Ogden, Utah is, I think, been the longest one.
You said 116?
116 miles.
116 miles.
What frequency?
Still 900 megs. Using that.
It's frequency hopping, so you're between, you know, depending on what the interference is in the area.
Did you try 117 or was it just,
That just happened to be the farthest point that they could get to.
Okay, gotcha.
So
Yeah,
we're
sorry.
talking
It's not
to
like
Mars.
at 116, it's just when we get up on a mountain to get line of sight because you have curvature of the earth issues. So you have to get up a little bit high, and where you could get up from a mountain to a mountain and have a straight shot, it was 116 miles.
Well, that's really cool.
And probably not too far from where you got out of your car, supposed to have to hike, right?
Yeah, there's that too, because, you know, we as a people are like, no.
Just kind of hold it out the window.
Do a drive-by at 116 miles away.
That's right.
Okay.
Any other questions, gentlemen?
Tell them they're dealing with the #1 install.
Now, what I'd like Jay and Lisa to do as you start thinking, let me actually tell you a scenario while we're finishing up. I was just called a couple days ago about this situation. The transit system in our city has some light rail as well as some buses, and apparently there's, and I didn't even know this, but a data gathering point at every stop that tells them if the bus is on time or running behind or whatever, and then at the end of the line, it sends that information in. Well, the problem is, at the end of the line, sometimes it's too late for it to do much good. So other than disciplinary action against the driver or whatever, and so they were wanting to see if they could connect all of their stops together and transfer data real time so that they know exactly when the bus got there and departed and ridership and all that. And so I went out and did a proof of concept with them, connecting SureFi unit from each of these information gathering boxes, and the range was no problem, and we're working on finishing up this proof of concept, but I would have never come up with that idea. But they called me and asked me, hey, can this work? And the serial data bridge, it has the ability to transfer that kind of information. So anyway, hopefully this gets your brain working, gets you thinking about a lot of possible scenarios. I realize you guys are a lot in the access control fence world. However, this also gets outside of what you probably traditionally are thinking of access control and fences. And this guy who did the forklift and is doing this transit authority as well as the municipality, he's an access control guy, but he's now spreading his influence and his business into there's three more large areas that he can specialize in and has a lot of work. So he's really busy and he's doing a lot of forklifts and he thinks it's great. What I'd like is that Jay and Lisa, if you would, give these guys an opportunity to look at the app. And gentlemen, if you would like to, you're welcome to come on up and ask me any individual questions, and we'll have that information available. I would love to see how that app actually works. And come on up close, and if you have questions, you're welcome to ask me anything about individual applications or how something works. Other than that, we really appreciate you being here today.
Thank you guys.
Thanks, John.
Thank you.